After I went abroad, a girl who looked like me appeared next to my boyfriend. Let me give them a little lesson today. I had been working abroad for 2 years. On the first day, I returned to Javia, where my best friend had organized a welcome party for me. Most of the people at the party were from our circle. 2 years had passed, and apart from a few people I was really close to, everyone else seemed unusually quiet. At my own welcome party, they all kept their heads down, drinking, and no one came over to talk to me. I was starting to wonder what was going on when suddenly, there was a commotion at the door. Benjamin walked in, arm in arm with a girl. The quiet atmosphere of the welcome party instantly turned lively. The group of followers who used to always hang around me rushed up, all smiles. Mr. Clarke, you're finally here. The girls, who had been silent earlier, suddenly started smiling and waving at Benjamin's companion. Ms. Palmer, come this way. We saved a seat for you. The girl at the center of the attention looked radiant, smiling gently. Benjamin, standing behind her, also smiled, his gaze full of affection as he watched the scene in front of him. His eyes were filled with nothing but tenderness. My best friend, Norma Turner, always loved stirring things up, leaned over to me with an excited grin, and whispered in my ear, Gloria, did you see that? The stand-in drama is playing out so smoothly. If you'd come back any later, she'd probably be having his baby by now. Norma had been my best friend since childhood. We would occasionally fight, but it never lasted long because, like me, she believed in settling scores right away. Thanks to her, I found out that during the 2 years I was abroad, Benjamin had started spending time with a girl who looked very similar to me. She was just a year younger than me and worked as Benjamin's personal assistant at his company. Her appearance at Benjamin's side was perfectly timed with my time abroad. At first, she only copied my style of dressing. Later, her makeup started looking similar to mine, too, until her face, which had only a slight resemblance to mine, began to look almost identical from a distance. At first, my friends made fun of her for trying to imitate me. Even Benjamin didn't pay much attention to her. But over time, they realized that Kathy and I had very different personalities. She was gentle, cheerful, and considerate, unlike me, who was quick-tempered and sharp-tongued. As time passed, my friends, who weren't that close to me, naturally started siding with her. Even the few followers who had always been around me switched their loyalties and began surrounding her instead. In the end, Benjamin's attitude toward her shifted from indifference to a caring, protective manner. He often said to her, Kathy, you don't need to imitate anyone. I'll always be by your side, just like I am now, protecting you. Norma was very good at making her stories feel vivid and emotional, almost like I had never truly left Javia and had witnessed all of this firsthand. With a faint smile, I glanced at the girl sitting across from me, and then turned to Norma and asked, do you think we really look alike? Hearing that, Kathy looked like a startled rabbit. She immediately tried to hide in Benjamin's arms, avoiding my gaze. I let out a sneer. What are you talking about? Are you blind? Today, I wore a gray suit, a mix of business and casual style. Kathy, sitting across from me, was also dressed in a gray suit. I had a necklace from a niche foreign designer brand around my neck. She wore the same. I'd admit, from an aesthetic point of view, she could be considered a beauty. But no matter how much she dressed like me or how similar her makeup was, I still didn't see a trace of similarity in her eyes. The moment I spoke those words, the room fell into an awkward silence. The atmosphere became thick with tension. The people who had been watching from the sidelines wore expressions that were oddly similar, serious, and complicated. Kathy spoke up first, putting on a pitiful, helpless act. Ms. Johnson, your elegance is truly unparalleled. I'm just a small assistant. How could I dare to compare myself to you? With that, everyone's eyes turned toward me, filled with obvious dissatisfaction. Even my dear cousin, Gary Smith, stood on Kathy's side, frowning in disapproval. Gloria, everyone's appearance is natural. It can't be changed, and it's obvious that you two look alike. Why make things difficult for her? When will you stop taking out your bad mood on others? Taking out my bad mood on others? I raised an eyebrow with a smirk as I looked at Gary. With how advanced technology is, who told you that looks are set in stone and can't be changed? Let me give you a little lesson today. Take a good look at her nose. Doesn't it look awkward? And her smile, don't you think it's a bit stiff? I paused for a moment before continuing. As for my bad habit you mentioned, I admit it. After all, I've seen so many beautiful things in my life. It's hard not to be in a bad mood when I encounter someone like you, blind and ignorant, around me. Gary stood there, stunned, unable to find a response. He just closed his mouth. But the group of women around us couldn't hold back anymore and began to defend him. Gloria's been abroad for 2 years, but her temper is still so fiery. I thought all Frada people were supposed to be graceful. How did she not learn any of that? I used to think Ms. Palmer and Gloria looked alike, but now, seeing Gloria's intimidating presence, how could they be compared? That's true. Gloria is pretty, but other than that, I really can't think of any other virtues. They were badmouthing me right in front of me, with no shame whatsoever. It had been 2 years since I'd been gone, and now they seemed to think I was some kind of kind-hearted, tolerant person. Kathy Palmer? I smiled, my gaze sweeping over the crowd before I leaned in, speaking louder. Did no one ever teach you that talking bad about others to their face can get you punched? They all acted like I had a good temper. I had just been abroad for work for 2 years, not in a church meditating or cultivating. Who gave them the confidence to think I would forgive their nonsense? What a joke. Honestly, since I was a kid, I've had the worst temper in the whole neighborhood.